I started a music business so that I could do something that I was really passionate about. For one, I had been working about 2000 till 2015 in a credit union, and I just did not enjoy my job at all. I wasn't sold into the company. Like I didn't really have a reason to want to be there. I didn't have a good why to what I was doing, the work that I was doing, and I knew I needed to make a change. So I decided to do something that I was really passionate about. And that was really my main big one, just to get me going. So we started off, just doing in-home lessons, and then started slowly moving into in studio. And now we're at over 100 students, which is amazing and beautiful. But my other two reasons are to just bring excellent, high quality music lessons to kids around the metro area. I didn't have access to music lessons as a kid, and so being able to bring that to these kids is really important to me. But the second thing that I feel really passionate about is bringing jobs to musicians in the metro area, and being able to bring jobs to them, I think, is a big deal because I couldn't find anything out of college. And so I found a part-time teaching gig here and there. And it's really difficult. I did teach in a private school for a little bit and hated the classroom discipline aspect of that. And so being able to provide something to people like who I was in my 20s, and I've got teachers that are older than that, but like just where I was at, to be able to provide, a job of like, I've got teachers that have got 30 plus students, and I think that's amazing. It's really cool. And so those are my three really big whys. And so, and it's been quite a journey. A couple of unique things about my academy, I think, are the fact that we provide video lessons for makeups when they can't make a lesson. I mean, it's the problem of last minute cancellations is kind of a plague on this kind of business, and being able to kind of compromise on that. Every music academy I've ever worked for, the student just lost that. They forfeited that lesson. And so being able to provide something, I think, is really helpful. It makes me feel a whole lot better about the whole ordeal, because I can set boundaries and have my clients respect mine and my teachers and my admin's time by being able to provide that for them. And it seems like a really nice middle ground. Another thing that's really unique is kind of our branding. And so we have a few franchised places that I think most people are aware of, like G4 and School of Rock. And I just kind of think franchises suck. I know we have some G4 guys in the group, but I just feel like franchises suck. And so I really went full force in our branding to make it very Oklahoma. So we call it Red Dirt Music Academy because two things: our dirt's red over here. There's a lot of iron oxide in our dirt. And there's also a style of country music that's called red dirt. And so I kind of wanted to play off of that a little bit. It's a little bit of a play on words on, just the culture here in the state, and also the style of music that comes from this area. Red dirt music is kind of like a North Texas, South Oklahoma type thing, and has a very unique sound to it. It's very kind of rocky, bluesy, kind of a feel to it, very folksy, earthy, and Americana. And so our branding reflects that. Our logo is our state bird, and so we kind of went with like a kind of almost not too cowboyish, but almost a cowboyish font. And so we really wanted to kind of bleed that Oklahoma. We are a local business, a locally owned small business, and I think that's a really cool thing personally. There's a lot of things that I wish I would have known going in. I wasn't naive going into starting my business. I read a ton of books. I was a tech, was my other job as I was building my school, and I was in a truck a lot, in a work truck. So I listened to a ton of audiobooks. And so I knew that there were going to be a lot of challenges. I wasn't naive to that. I wish I could have got in front of every problem that I would have ever gotten in front of, but I knew that there were going to be some unknown variables. And one of the biggest things that I really wish that I would have known is don't skip out on paying yourself. That really creates a problem. I have a unique advantage. I'm debt free personally on all of my personal finances, and so when we got into our first space, I didn't really need the income, and so I was just pouring everything else back into the business, and I started to see the problem that created. In Profit First, I can't remember the author's name, I apologize, but he describes it as a cash-eating monster. Your business can turn into a cash-eating monster, and that's absolutely true for our style of business. And if you don't get a handle on that and start paying yourself, it can be a mess. So I think that's the biggest lesson that I wish I would have known coming in, is just do not skimp out. Don't just take what you should be paying yourself and just turning around and throwing it right back into the business. Absolutely, pay yourself. And or else, and of course the burnout from all of that was happening to me, and that will happen. It gets really difficult to have an incentive when you're working for free. It's not great, and so pay yourself. I think the toughest business lesson has been just enforcing boundaries with clients. I came up with this mantra, and I don't know if it's something I heard from somebody else or if it's something that I made up. I'm probably not smart enough to make up something this wise, but I probably heard it from somewhere. But it's just as difficult and painful emotionally to enforce a boundary as it is to let somebody step over one with you. And I mean, the feeling is pretty the same. It's the same emotional response. So you might as well enforce the boundary, because you're going towards a more healthy place with you and the client. And so the whole ideal, like, if you don't respect your own time, nobody else will. That kind of old saying. It's kind of the same thing. So having really good policies in place, where people can't just jump ship the day their payment is due, making sure that you have a good rescheduling policy in place, where people can just call you 5 minutes after their lesson started to reschedule, asking for credits and things like that. It's just, when you have that kind of stuff, it's just better just to enforce that boundary, and you're just going to feel a little bit better, not better, but a little better, because it's always a painful thing. Maybe it gets easier with practice. I found that it gets a little easier with practice, but yeah, it's just as hard. So you might as well do the right thing and enforce that boundary with the client, even if it risks a bad review. I think I stand by that. I know a lot of people may feel a little differently about that, but I didn't start a business so that my clients could control my time, and so and that goes back to the whys too. I'm doing this for the students and the teachers, and so if I have to enforce a boundary with a parent that is trying to overstep, then that's what I'm going to do. And so it's really tough. It's never easy, and I hope it gets even easier the more that I do it and put my foot down. But it just is never easy. I got one of these kind of, let's just call it what it is, a spammy message from Johnny on my website. And I normally just delete those as I see them, but just something about it caught my attention, something about the wording. And so there's some guy in New Zealand was claiming that he had 2,000 students. And I was like, no way is that true. And so honestly, I researched it. I researched the demographics around his school and everything, like a stalker would. And I was like, man, this guy seems to be legit. And I just, not without consulting my wife or anything, I just went ahead and just, let's do this. Let's give this a shot. I did all those videos. I took all the notes, and it's just like some of the best advice that I'd ever seen, and some really outside the box thinking, some things that were going to take a lot of courage to do, like school shows and music bus programs. And I was just so impressed by all the plethora of great advice that was coming out from the free little few videos that Johnny had put out. And I was like, yeah, I've absolutely have to join this thing. This is going to be great. And I, again, stand by that decision, because it has, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have this, six-figure business without all of that. And having people have my back when things get tough is massive. During the Corona shutdowns, if I didn't have the BAM squad, I don't know what I would have done. The advantage of having that too is I could see the writing on the wall as businesses were being shut down across the country and across the United States. And so I was ready before anybody else was ready for that government shutdown here in the city. And so thank you. I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you. I had a interesting situation that I don't think a lot of music academies deal with. I never dealt with this when I was working with other ones, but I had a student actually pass away. He was a teenager, and and it was as we were moving into studio lessons, and it was one of my in-home lesson students that I actually had another teacher going to teach, and I just really didn't know how to approach that, how to deal with it, how to talk about it. And it was Tim Topham actually had some resources on that. And so the BAM squad really kind of came together and for one, offered their condolences. So that was very helpful. And for one, just actually getting some real advice on how to deal with something like this, because it was just something I just was not prepared for. And so that was one pain point, difficult situation that I was able to navigate a little bit better because I had support. I've been a BAM squad member for quite a while now. And so I think my favorite parts have kind of fluctuated as I've grown in my business. And so I think early on, my favorite parts were all the spreadsheets. And because, man, I failed most of my math class. Well, I've only failed one math class, but outside of that was D's and C's in every math class I ever took in high school. And the one I had to take in my undergrad, and then accounting in grad school, I think I made a C. And so just math I've always sucked at it, but I learned to really love numbers and the stories that the numbers tell you. And so embracing those numbers, I think as a business owner, I think we all need to do that, to be able to embrace and see and be able to see what story is being told with the numbers. But that was my very first favorite thing. I think currently my favorite thing is the masterminds. And so I facilitate the starters right now, and that's my favorite thing. I think just meeting up with the handful of people every couple of weeks and having somebody hold my feet to the fire on projects that I tend to put off has been really, really helpful, because I'm pretty notorious for just avoiding a project if I feel like it's too big or it's intimidating. And so having a group of people that are like, hey, why didn't you finish the 501c3 homework for your music foundation? That's been my biggest one. I've been holding that one off for about 3 months. And so having them there to hold my feet to the fire has been really, really, really helpful. And so that's my current favorite thing. And next year will probably be a different favorite thing that I have with the BAM squad. And so there's just a lot of really cool aspects to it that I really enjoy. So when I joined, I was just going in-home, just doing in-home lessons. And I know that I think we have a few members that kind of do like a hybrid thing of like in-home and in-studio lessons. And Johnny kind of gave me the advice just right off the bat to stop doing the in-home lessons and to get in studio only, and that I would really enjoy it. And I had a business mentor that was really pushing me to do a hybrid type thing too. But I could really see, I was getting frustrated because I was capping out at like 30 studios. I couldn't take on any more than 30. And so I was getting frustrated with the amount of time that I was spending driving. I was starting my day off at 9, ending it at 9, and I could only see about up to 8 students. So I was seeing somewhere between, 5, 6, and up to 8. 8 was a lot to fit bouncing around. I had days where I was going to different towns. It honestly was a mess. And so that first big jump was getting to a little room in a music store, and then and then just slowly phasing out the in-home lessons to where I was just inside of there. And so now we're in our own space. We're in a very affluent area of the part of town that we're in. And so we're in South Oklahoma City, which gets a little bit of a bad rap. If you're like an old school Oklahoma City resident, it's kind of like a tale of two cities. You have North Side and South Side, and South Side's supposed to be the trashy side. But over the years, the South Side has actually developed a lot. And I think a lot of business developers that are local are really sleeping on that South Side. So we've got a lot of like out of state big franchises like Sprouts and CVS, Walgreens and stuff that are developing in this area. And so I mean I have goodness have I I don't know, tripled business since I started. It's been a lot. And I've grown a lot as a business owner too. So having a business mentor I think is helpful, but also having people that are in the business that I'm in, so that I can really gauge a lot of the advice that I'm getting, and I can really kind of like, okay, my business mentor is telling me this thing, but I've also got all of these academy owners that are telling me this thing, and so I can kind of gauge exactly what advice I want to take and what direction I want to go to. And so again, it just comes down to support. Having support makes you feel like you're not making decisions by yourself. It makes you feel like you're not making rash decisions. And it just makes me feel informed. And I think that's really important. Here in about 5 years, I've been giving this a ton of thought lately. And so I would like to have about 2 more locations. I've got some areas in the metro that I'd like to have. I'd like to have music bus programs for all of them. And I would like to pretty much, I love teaching, but maybe a handful if I teach at all, but just really having that automated. I say automated, all the admin stuff automated, all the teachers automated and things like that, where I can just really work on the business. And so I want to be, like spending a lot less time doing the technical thing and spending more of the time doing the entrepreneurial and management thing, and really focus on building great team members that can bring amazing lessons to our students and great experiences. And so that's where I want to be. 3 locations in the metro, and just working on the business and not in the business, and having a great team of people, and building a great family of people, which I think is what we're doing. We're working towards that. And, again, going from a 6-figure to a 7, which would be really, really cool. Could it be done in 5 years? I think so. And so that would be pretty cool. If I get close, that'd still be really cool, huh? And so that really excites me. Thinking about that, the next 5 years is incredibly exciting. And thinking about where I came from for the last 5 years. So 5 years ago, I had just quit my job and was going full time into teaching. And so teaching on my own I was just getting started on the in-home lesson stuff. And so it's really exciting to see where we were, where we are now, and where we're going to be in the next 5 years. I think it's going to be something amazing for sure. My business mentor once gave me a really, really good piece of advice. And he said, the best advice is the advice that you pay for. And there is just a massive amount of terrible advice out there, and it's going to be in those free Facebook groups. And so you can compare it to I'm a guitar player, so I was a part of some Stratocaster owners groups and things like that. And the advice that somebody would go into those groups and say, hey, I'm trying to learn guitar, what's the best advice that you would give me? And man, there was just some horrible advice in there. And I've got other hobbies too, and I just see bad advice in those Facebook groups also. And so why is BAM Squad better is because the good advice is regulated, and you get the best advice, and you don't have to filter or cultivate it. It's cultivated for you. And so that's what I like about the BAM Squad. Reading books, I think absolutely read books for sure. on top of being in the BAM squad, because you can read books like for example, The E-Myth Revisited. If you've read that one, is a staple business book that most business owners read. A lot of fantastic advice in that. You should follow that advice, but it's not specific to owning Music Academy. And so what the BAM squad brings is the advantage here is that it's cultivated for you, and it's narrowed down into exactly like the specific challenges that we face in owning a music school. And so a lot of great books out there, story branding, all of these things, and they're great and they're general. But what the BAM squad brings is a focused material, so that you can take all that stuff. We talk about these books all the time, getting things done, story branding, all this stuff, and we start bringing it down and we narrow it into our niche. And that's the advantage that it is. Figuring it out as you go. Again, I doubt the self-doubt is crippling. So as a business owner, 10% of the United States population is considered is made up of business owners. So 90% of people aren't as brave as we are. And in just that factor, we have all this crippling self-doubt that we've got to deal with. And so having somebody that's been through it, having people that are at a higher level, like student-wise or income-wise or, location-wise or whatever, having these people that have been through all this to give you specific advice is really helpful. And so that's why I think it's better. I have a 3-ring binder full of my notes from all of the modules. And that 3-ring binder probably costs 96 cents, and the loose leaf paper that's in it is probably worth the same. And so it's $2, right? And I make the joke, but it's not really a joke, that 3-ring binder is worth millions to me. And it's true, because the action items that are in that pay off a lot. And so again, I went from just one-man operation to I've got over 100 students. I think I'm at 6 teachers now, and I've got a building in an affluent part of town. And I don't think that I would have all of that if it wasn't for the BAM squad. So the investment is absolutely 100% worth it. And you could look at it as, honestly, the monthly payment is less than I charge for one student. So you can just think of it as, well, that's just the lost income from one student, and let's see how this works. And that's how I thought about it. And I could not imagine taking a break right now from the BAM squad. Just the value that I get from it is immense and is continuing to pay off massively. So you're not seeing this if you haven't already made the decision to jump into starting your own business. So if you look back at how you felt about that in the decisions and the thought process and the paradigm that you had at that moment, it was time to make a change, and it was time to start your business. And you're probably not seeing this if you're not thinking about it. It's time to start getting really profitable. And so if you're at this point and you've made it this far, it's time to start making your business more profitable. It's time to start getting more students. It's time to grow your business. It's time to start, paying yourself more. It's time. So, join us and get in and kick some butt, man. Let's do it.